Hi Mermaid Junkies, how are you? I hope you're doing well. Today I wanted to share a video with you about feeling the need to be rescued, and are we caught up in this whole mentality of feeling the need to be rescued? And something that sparked my thought process about this was actually a personal experience, of course. And so I wanted to talk about exactly what is going on when this particular thing happens. You know, I think there's sometimes that, I don't know for you, but for me along my own personal journey, you know that I've always, in the past, I think I've pretty much cleared most of those negative old beliefs and patterns out of my life at this point. But there was a time that Raquel, there was a time in my life when I knew that this was a huge component in my life, is to want to rescue, rescuing my children, rescuing an ex-spouse. Even when Jeffrey and I got together, I saw that there were some tendencies from being in that kind of mentality for so long that I started to pick up on these habitual things that I was starting to want to try and rescue Jeffrey as well, which I had to completely, dial back and reavert my attention to, making sure that I'm nurturing myself and not doing things because I'm coming from a lack mentality, right? Or a desire to be needed. And that is the main focus that I'd like to talk about today, is that we have this tendency to want to feel needed in our life. And so often we will compromise our own beliefs, our own desires, our own expansion and growth in life just because we have this huge, massive need within us that needs to be filled. And we do it through all of these different channels of trying to rescue other people. Parents do it because they think, parents do it, spouses do it, we do it in all different manners. Some people rescue animals, and it's a sense of this, have you ever noticed that there's some people that you're like, oh, that's kind of odd. They have like 25 cats, or they have animals that they continually rescue animals, and like they're surrounded by animals, and it just seems like they can never have enough. It's this massive need that when a person has cut off emotionally and internally with their direct inner being, which is, our godlike aspect of ourself, and, source, we use this emotion and this desire within us as a human being because we all want to feel needed. And it's kind of equivalent to feeling love, right? That in order for us to have this particular need met, we will rescue things, like sometimes you could rescue, like I said, in my past experience, there was a time that I thought, okay, well, I need to rescue my children. I need to make sure, that's a lot of times why parents also will get their kids out of trouble. Like, say that they get into trouble or whatever, and, when we didn't come here to feather our children's nest, and we didn't come here to feather our spouse's nest or anyone. We didn't come here to fulfill anyone's needs but our very own. But through beliefs and conditioning, we have grown out of that, and we've pinched ourselves off from putting ourselves first. Like, how often are you, and I know I've asked myself this question as well, is how often are you showing up for you? How often are you rescuing yourself instead of someone else? Because the reason that we need to do this, and we have this need that we want fulfilled, like a lot of people do that with the feeling of wanting to rescue a spouse. And I say this because I had experience in it. And there was this it was a lack of self-worth and self-love on my part. And over time, it just becomes more and more compounded because we actually potentially if we don't get that back into alignment with ourselves and being authentic with ourselves and our true nature and loving ourselves and putting ourselves first, we eventually become so cut off from our inner being, from source, from God, that we no longer can hardly recollect where we begin and another person ends, you know, or where we begin and where we end in a particular, you know, maybe it's a relationship or codependency upon a spouse or children, or, you know, whatever the situation is. I mean, so many people use these different objects or things, particulars, in order to replace a need that is ultimately your inner being screaming for you to stop cutting yourself off and stop putting yourself last. Because I think if you, from my own personal journey, I know what happened was that I continually put a spouse before me so much that it becomes something to where you never can give enough. You never can bend over backwards enough. You never can, you know, do the right thing enough. You can never, bring enough money into the house. You can never do anything enough. It gets to the point to where then you're like, oh, because it starts out like, oh, I'll fulfill that need for you. Oh, I'll make your lunch. Oh, I'll do this or whatever. But then, and you're saying, you can rely on me because you want to feel needed and loved, right? But then what actually ends up happening, and I know from personal experience, is that you get to the point to where you have become so subjected to this, to putting yourself last, that you're like, get the hell away from me. I do not want any of you around me. I mean, because you begin to resent people. You begin to resent the actual things that you're doing for these people because you have cut yourself off. Because a lot of times we will do things out of fear. That is what is driving. This is the particular need. When you have this need to want to feel needed, it is a lack of self-love, self-awareness, self-worth, and it's also a feeling of fear, that you have this fear that's driving you like internally, and you know, most of the times, you guys, it's subconscious. You don't realize that you're doing it. And so if you can start to step back, I mean, this is how you can do it in little incremental steps, okay? Is that doesn't mean you're supposed to turn your entire world upside down. Like if you decide one day, because this is what happened to me, and I'm going to share my personal experience with you. I don't like to always keep going back, you know, but I will give you an experience because I think that experience teaches. It taught me, and just it will kind of put us on the same, you know, forefront of understanding one another. And if you experience this in your life, or you see these particular little notions that you're doing in your life, maybe you can say, wow, I remember Raquel was saying, oh, she was dealing with that too. Like, and then you can understand like what this particular emotion is telling you. It's your internal being telling you what you're lacking. And it's basically, we have cut ourselves off. We are using someone else to replace the need that we need to put within ourselves. So we're using other people to mask what we need to fulfill within ourselves. You know, when people say, oh, I miss you so much, or oh, I'm so lonely, it's actually not really any of those things. It seems like that, but it's actually not. It's actually you're missing connection with self, and you're lonely for connection with self. And so if you can come back to being authentic and truly recognizing that these things are within you, that it is your internal being screaming out for companionship, for a closeness, for you to get back to self-love and self-worth and taking care of yourself first, meeting your own needs. Stop expecting other people to meet needs for you. That is the worst thing that you can do for yourself. That is the worst thing. I mean, you are all encompassing. You are a powerful creator. There is no one that is more powerful than you, and you are the only one that can do it. But if you continually replace your own personal needs with trying to do it through another person, you are going to be unhappy. There is no happy ending during a miserable journey. I just have news for you. That's not how, that's a universal law. You cannot say, oh, I might be living a terrible, wretched life here on earth, and it's just not very happy, and there's moments of happiness, but most of the time I'm feeling miserable. Well, do you think that you're going to die and be with consciousness, and then it's all of a sudden going to be rosy and glorious? You can't get to a journey, a destination, if the journey has sucked. I just got news for you. It ain't going to happen. So, I mean, anyway, so the other thing that I wanted to say is that I wanted to share my personal, this is one just particular personal experience, okay? And I've been very, very good as a parent as far as me teaching children to be extremely independent. Like, I have a very nurturing spirit. I have a very sensitive spirit, you know, and I'm a very, very good mother. But I'm also the kind of mother, and I have been this way, and you ask any 4 of my children, they're all very, very independent. You know, emotionally, they're very confident within themselves. They all had jobs at 15, providing for themselves to make ends meet, because I truly feel like we are being very counterproductive. We are being very counterproductive when we do not teach children to be self-sufficient, independent, and to rely on themselves to meet their own needs. And you know, it creates a beautiful atmosphere for children that will become very self-loving, confident, beautiful human beings, because we as mothers need to teach those children that they need to get their needs met. Don't look to mommy, you know what I mean? So it's beautiful because, you know, of course, children, when they're very young, obviously they need, you know, they need their needs met and they're firstborn and everything. Yes, it's obvious that they do need their needs met by a parent. You know, I needed to nurse my children in order for them to be fed. However, as they incrementally grow older, we need to start helping them, to inspire them to know that they can solve their own problems, they can solve their own things that are happening in their lives. You know, it's not our job, and so many people get this messed up, is that they think it's their job to let me fix you. Let me fix you and make it okay. And that's an actual external way of us trying to control conditions, people, and things in order for us to be happy. We think that it's all externally outside of ourselves. If I can just make that person do what I need them to do, then I'll be happy. But as long as they're doing that, I'm not happy. And it really has nothing to do with that other person. It's the fact that you have no control over your own life and your own thoughts and your own processes. So my little story that I wanted to share with you was this, is that, okay, so you guys know that I was in a marriage before I met my beautiful, wonderful, perfect specimen of a soulmate, my twin flame, Jeffrey. But I was in a 25-year marriage. I had been with my ex for about 30 years. So I had met him when I was 14 years old. So that tells you the psychological nature of probably my growth during that time, right? And so I'm not blaming everything on my ex. Actually, he was probably instrumental in me becoming the person that I am today, because he was such a hard nose. Like, he, you know what I mean? Like, we can use everyone in our lives, especially those that are really, really get under our nails. You know what I mean? Get under our skin. We can use those people as catalysts to have the most expansion and most growth in our lives. So I'm very appreciative of these particular people in my life that have given me a hard time, actually, you know? So I think it's a beautiful, profound thing when you can come to that full circle effect of realizing that everything is working out for us, right? So anyway, in this relationship, I realized that I had become so conditioned to, you know, I basically came from one dysfunctional, you know, childhood into a dysfunctional relationship. And it's no fault of my own, you know, I'm not blaming anyone or anything like that, but I'm just trying to share with you the reason that a lot of times this happens in our lives, you know. It's because of conditions previous, and we're still not yet aware of what we're actually doing, you know. So the longer that I was in the relationship, the more that I would try to meet the needs of this other person. I would, you know, try to make things in life easy for them. And I think that I recognize this because I had grown up in an atmosphere such as that exact kind of modeled behavior. Whereas, you know, coming from a home of psychological, like warfare, you know what I mean? Dysfunction in a family dynamic, where every family has dysfunction, okay? That I'm not saying, I'm speaking analytical because I want you to understand that, like, psychologically this is all making sense, is that I continued on in that pattern in my relationship because I had seen it as that was my role model, that was my model of a relationship, is that you completely ignore all of your own feelings, emotions, desires, wants, dreams, and everything to accommodate this other person. And it happens a lot, especially with somebody that's insecure, like such as myself was, and someone that comes from a very, like, distraught childhood, you know, with a lot of alcoholism, abuse, mental abuse, and that kind of thing, you know, physical abuse, mental abuse, I mean, all, you name it, that is going to cause a lot of upheaval in the way that people are, you know, it's going to cause a lot of trauma for someone such as myself at such a young age, if that makes any sense. So that is exactly what I knew. And I attracted that because we attract everything in our lives, right? We are the creators. We create our reality. And so I attracted that exact replica of the exact way that I had seen in my childhood. And if you look back in your life, you can see that it's a direct reflection. If you're attracting this particular type of behavior or a type of person, this is because of either it's a belief system that you have, or it's because you really have the sense of low self-worth, and you have been trained and conditioned that way. And it's no fault of your own. Don't blame yourself for anything, but just realize that once you have the capacity to recognize and understand what's going on in your life, you have the capacity to change those things. It doesn't have to stay that way. You can break the chain of those particular, you know, generational kind of things. And so anyway, so that is exactly what happened to me in my relationship, in my marriage. I completely numbed myself out. I didn't realize that I was necessarily doing it until, you know, there was so many things that I felt overcome, but I really hadn't overcome them. Like, I hadn't overcome all the adultery and the, you know, unfaithfulness and the disrespect. And it's because I was attracting that. Like, I expected that I should be treated like that because that was how my mom was treated. I mean, that's the only thing that I knew, you know, is to accept those things, you know. And my crown in heaven will be bigger if I accept those things. Just accept that this is the way this person is, and you just have to deal with it, you know. And it's no, you don't have to deal with it. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do ever. And it's such a beauty and freedom in that, you know, of when you can recognize that within yourself. That's like, you don't have to put up with anything. And so here was my catalyst to coming to terms with, like, I had just gotten to the point, and we were living in California. So all of those years, you know, these were little teeny things that were building the walls of me being resentful and angry. And it's because I was so angry with myself that I denied myself of my true natures, you know, my true desires and my true wants in life, all because of someone else. And so I was really angry at myself because I allowed that to happen. You know what I mean? So the straw that broke the camel's back, you guys, and it seems like, oh my God, that's such a little thing. Why would that be something that would completely catapult her into an extremity? And I will tell you that is human nature to do that, because a person can take, a spirit can take so much, right? And after you have years and layers and layers and layers of anger and hurt and guilt and fear and revenge and all of these different emotions layered upon layer, that you get to the point of a breaking, right? And it's either you're going to succumb and you will become worse, right? Or you will want to opt out. You will want to die. You will just want to just God take me from this earth. I can't stand this life, right? Or you will become angry and it will catapult you into driving you up the scale of freedom. And that's exactly what happened to me. I had gotten so angry that I was like, get out of my way. Anybody that's in my way, you're going to be demolished. And that's not a bad thing, you guys. Don't think that your anger happens to be a bad emotion, because it's what catapults many people from depression to anger to get you out of where you have been, down for so long. It's a beautiful momentum of getting you through to where you need and want to be in life. So don't ever make yourself feel bad if you have immense anger, because it's actually source guiding you up through that. And I know that's probably like, I've never heard that. That doesn't sound right, Raquel. I'm telling you that actually is a beautiful, beautiful emotion to help us escalate our desire and drive for things that we really want in life to expand and become transformed. So I was in California, and I think I've told you guys this story before, but anyway, I had gotten really, really sick. We didn't have health insurance. I haven't had health insurance for years. And so anyway, I had gotten really, really ill. And at the time, I had been sleeping on the couch. We lived in California, and I had probably like 6 or 7 different things that were going on. I had like a massive abscess in a tooth, like a, what do you call those? Anyway, it was like an old crown or something from a root canal, and I had an abscess in that. I had a urinary tract infection on top of a bladder infection with kidney stones. I had the flu and strep throat. I know, isn't this crazy? And I also had like a really bad knee injury. And so I know this was the universe. This is the metaphysical reason that all of this was happening, because for so many years I had completely shut myself down so much that my body was saying, you can't go on. And we didn't have health insurance either. So I was sleeping on the couch for 2 weeks. And I remember there was a time I counted it, you guys, on the thing, like I had no assistance. No one was helping me. No one was getting me water. I lost 10 pounds just because I didn't even drink water for 4 days. And I was severely dehydrated. And I just felt really, really alone. And I really felt like my ex at the time had no course of nurturing to me. And I just was like he didn't ask me if I needed anything, or there was a time, it was 9 hours when I had both of the kidney stones and the urinary tract infection. So if women, you understand, I mean, let alone just one of those things, and then you've got the teeth issues and all that stuff. I cried, and it was 8 hours of me not passing a kidney stone, because that was the main thing. All I had was my essential oils, and I was dousing my body in those and I just thought, if I get through this illness, because I wanted to literally die, I was in so much pain, that I said, if I get through this, my life is changing. I am done with this. I am never experiencing this kind of pain to myself, to my body, ever again. No one's worth this to me. It was like I could birth 10 kids and it wasn't even near a third of the pain that I was going through. Plus I was emotionally shut down too, you guys. So it was just a mass of all of those things combined into one. And I remember praying on the couch and I was like, God, if you hear me, I said, I have got to have relief. And I want to know things like you know them, God. I want to have a life that's different than what I'm living. I don't want to live this kind of life anymore. I'm done with this. And so that was one of the little things. And then it was probably a couple of days later, and I had gotten through all of the illness and I was on the mend and I was getting better. But something inside of me ultimately changed. It radically changed internally in me. Nobody could see it really so much, but my mind went somewhere that it had never went before, right? And I was very upset also at the time because I had finally, my ex and I had moved around for his career and everything, which is fine. And I always adapted and made the kids think that it was a beautiful experience and we were all learning things and we get to meet new people and, making a wonderful, wonderful experience as much as you could for children traveling around and moving all the time, right? So we probably moved about a total in the course of 30 years, 25 years, probably 21 times. I think I added it up one time. Is 21 times. And I had always I think I've lived in 9 states. And the one state that I didn't ever think I was going to get to live in, but I had always dreamt of it when I was young. Like even when the time I was 15 or 16, I was getting these Victoria magazines and I had seen these beautiful little homes, those little gingerbread, Hansel and Gretel houses in Carmel, California. And I had those on my vision board since then. I mean, that tells you, And so finally I just kind of like forgot about it or whatever. And I was just like, I had always wanted to live there. And my ex he was always claimed to be like, he's a New Yorker. And so California is not our thing and we're never going to move there. And it's for like different kind of people and, all those kind of guru-y people, you know what I mean? And so I was like, oh, I think it would be kind of cool to live there just because it looks beautiful, right? And so anyway, so he gets a job there and we eventually move to California. Well, at this particular time when I had gotten sick and everything, it was, he had gotten fired from his job and we were going to have to move. And I was at the point in my life because, all of the kids were older. I mean, Zoe's 16 and she's the last one. And I'm just like, no, I want it to be about me now. I want you to, like, if that's what it takes. I mean, I supported your dream. So now I'm ready for you to support my dream. Like, I want to be an artist and a writer and I want to write children's books and I want to live in California. Like, have you ever felt like that? Like, you think that there's where your soul belongs in a place? And when I got to California and I went to Carmel, I was like, this is where I belong. I never want to leave here ever, 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 ever. I never want to leave here. I want to stay here until I die, like this mortal life, And once again, I felt like I had no power. Like, no, we're moving. And I'm like, no, but I mean, find a job. Like, maybe it's not necessarily doing what you love, but like, just have a little faith in me. Like I had faith in you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, let's make it work. I want to live here. I want to stay here. I don't want to move. I've only been here a year and I love it so much. And so anyway, so the whole point of that story was, I remember standing in the bathroom hallway, and I think I told you guys this story, but anyway, I'll tell it again, is that I just blatantly said, it's never going to be about me, is it? I'm never going to get my turn. And the ex said to me, no, we're not staying here. I make the money. I'm the breadwinner. And you have to earn everything that you get. I had to earn everything I got, and you are going to have to earn everything you get. So if you want it, you'll have to earn it and get it yourself. Well, to me, that was the straw right there. Like, you can say everything washed over me in my entire life, and I said that was the piece to the puzzle that ended it all. Because if I had done all this my whole life, and I was in my 40s, And this is actually the truth. This is the truth. This is what he's standing behind. And I thought, I've got to get out of here. Like, it's never going to be about me. And I just thought, all of those years, you guys, and it broke me. Like, I just get little teary-eyed thinking about it, but it broke me mentally in half, into a million pieces. Like, it just broke me. And I just thought, I'm never going to be with somebody like this, ever. I am not going to be with somebody like this. Like, somebody's going to stand beside me, or you get out of my way. No person is ever going to do that to me ever again, ever. And so it's actually so beautiful, because Jeffrey, like, I knew then that I wanted the extreme opposite in my soulmate, right? And so I went to work. I was like, I'm getting out of here. I'm packing boxes that say California, even though I'm moving to Oklahoma. I'm going back. No one's keeping me from there, right? And I'm going back now. You know, it's not, I mean, I'm not going next week or anything, but we're moving back to Carmel. And that's the thing, is I said, you know what? No person is ever going to keep me from my dreams. And so the whole point of this particular story is that you guys, you must, I heed you, to please live your own desires and wants and dreams in life, because no one's going to do it for you. You know, you can think, oh no, I have the most supportive person. You know, you might not have experiences like this in my life. Maybe you don't draw the attention of that. Maybe you had somebody that's always been super supportive, you know, but there's always little particular ways that you lose yourself in relationships, or in, you know, marriages, or even family dynamics, you know, like, especially because it's all rooted in where you came from and what belief systems that were ingrained in you. And there's a good chance that before the age of 7, if you had certain things that were told to you at least 100,000 times, right, by the time you're 7 years old, that you create those belief systems and believe you're not worthy of certain things. You know, money doesn't grow on trees. What do you expect? The world to revolve around you? You know, and then you start to believe those things by the age of 7 years old, and it's ingrained in there. And so what we have to do is create new beliefs. But the main thing that I wanted to say is that you have got to heed your own needs. Fulfill your own needs first. You know, if your husband wants you to, like, this is just an example. I remember so many times that I would be like, I'm getting 4 kids off to seminary. I'm trying to get, you know, 2 boys to get their Eagles for Boy Scouts. I'm the one doing all this stuff. And then I've got to go grocery shopping. I've got to cook the meals. And mind you, I mean, I get it. Like, I'm a multitasker like none other. Like, you can throw 500 things on me and I could do it without a blink. And that is what has taught me, being in an alcoholic, growing up in an alcoholic home. That is one benefit, because you learn to multitask and do so many things to perfection. You get really good at that. So look at the positive things, that all of these negative things that happen, look at the positive aspects of them, because there's always a positive aspect, okay? But anyway, I remember just thinking, I don't want to pack your lunch. I don't want to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning because you have to be at work by 3:30 and pack your lunch and do your little, you know, gym bag or whatever, and get your vitamins out and prepare all your little stuff. I just don't want to do it. Like, I got to the point where I was like, I don't want to do this. But then when you start to you know, slowly fulfill your own needs and not worry about what this person's going to think or this person's going to say to you or whatever, like, all hell's going to break loose, just so you know. When you start wanting to correct your life and become expanded and grow and nurture yourself, all hell is going to break loose, just so be aware. But it's a normal process because, you know, I mean, it's just normal. It's universal. It's just normal for that to happen. Because you're undoing everything, you know, conditionally, on that conditional basis. And most humans live a conditional life. Most humans live conditional marriages. You know, you do this and then I'll be happy. Don't do that and I'll be happy. But you can't live like that. Like, that's superficial. It's not even real. And eventually it's going to thwart, and you're going to hate the person and resent the person that you're with because you were trying to control them. Ultimately, that's what men want. Did you know that? Like, women want to feel committed, right? And men want freedom. We both want freedom. Men and women want freedom. But mostly men strive and desire freedom. And have you ever noticed that that's one of the first things that goes is if you have this new relationship and it's not like a soulmate, joining or whatever, that it starts to go sour around 3 months. It just does. And it's because you are putting conditions and trying to control men, And so that's the thing, is like, my husband, I mean, he is this free agent. He is free to do whatever he wants, And so if you give people that freedom, it's like going like this. It's like you give someone freedom, they're not gonna go away. But as soon as you start going like this, they will try to escape. It's just natural human tendency. So try to always remember that you want your hand to be like this. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, have you ever thought about when you feed a horse, you always are taught to go like this so that they can get it. But as soon as you go like that, they're going to bite your hand. They don't mean to, but anyway, that's the whole concept of it. Just, allow a person to flourish. And, look at your marital relationship like, I like you pretty much. Let's see how it goes. I have no tendency to want to hold this person down. And I don't want him to want to hold me down. I want to have freedom to do whatever I want and feel that I have control of my life. And so if that's the one thing that I learned from a 25-year relationship, I think it's pretty darn good. I'm pretty happy with those results, And so anyway, I just wanted to come to you today because that has been something on my mind, and I've seen that with a particular friend just recently, as far as you can see it in other people very, very quickly when you have lived that experience your life, which is trying to fulfill other people's needs. So many times people do it, you guys. You do it, you might not do it with a spouse, but most likely if you do it with a spouse, you're doing it with children and other people in your life. Oh, I won't do that because it'll disrupt the children, and I need to be here for my children, and I need to do this for my spouse, and I need to do that for my... No, you don't. No, you don't. You need to fill your own needs first, and then you will realize the people that have loved you on conditions will fall away from your life, and the people that love you unconditionally will come into your life or stay in your life. That is how it works. It's a universal law. You can't get around it. You can't get past it. That's how it is. It's a law. So I leave these things with you, and I hope that they were helpful. I hope that they served you. And just know how much I love you, and you're doing fabulous. You're doing great on your journey. I know that you're learning so many beautiful things, and I'm learning with you, and I'm so appreciative of each and every one of you subscribers, especially the ones that are very active on my channel and that are always very supportive, and you give me lovely, compliments and things like that. And I do appreciate that. I want you to know that I'm thinking of you. I know I might not know your face necessarily, but I know your call letters, on your, as a subscriber, and I see that list and the subscriber list and everything, and I want you to know how much I do appreciate that, and that I am going to try to do more videos. I really am going to try to be more consistent, just because I think that it was beneficial for me when I was going through my most difficult times. I needed that, talking about needs, but it was very helpful for me to see other people, that had experienced things and learned through those things and expanded and grew, and it just inspired me because I knew that I could do it too. You know what I mean? And so I hope that I'm that a little bit for you. If not, that's completely fine. Every channel is for there's somebody for every channel, if that makes any sense. And so, yeah, I do ramble a lot. I do get off the subject. I do all those things, and I still love myself completely. And, you know, maybe my channel's not for you, but I hope it is. And the ones that are here all the time, I really love you and appreciate you so much. And if you want to give a mermaid her fins, go ahead and subscribe on the subscribe button. Thank you so much. I'm yours until my next swim. Ciao. Bye. I love you.